Again, I don't care if you voted for Trump or not, but this is on him. This is a guy that campaigned on, we're gonna make the economy great, we're gonna make America rich again. Well, right now it ain't working. So stage one is leading to a recession. Most experts will say that a lot of these policies with the tariffs and all that stuff is just like, it's just not really gonna be that great for economic activity. At the same time, though, again, I'm not here to question who you voted for or why. I don't do that. I'm just here to really give you the facts. And right now, the data pretty much says not only that a recession is likely coming, but also that most Americans, right at this very moment, are actually not in approval. Most voting Americans, most people, registered voters, are not in approval of the way the administration's handling the economy, and that's going to be a big deal for them. So as we start our money in the morning, one thing I want to let everybody know, remind everybody is that I sometimes I send out the text, sometimes I don't. So if you want to make sure that you're aware when class starts, make sure you're on the text list, and also. Just a reminder, don't forget that our financial slumber party is going to be Friday night at 11 o'clock. And I only invite people that are in this class because I'm kind of like that. It's almost like when you were little and you were on the basketball team and you had a sleepover and you only invited other people from the basketball team. I'm kind of like that now. Like y'all are like the basketball team. Like we out here winning championships and other people don't understand what it's like to go through our practices and win games and all this other stuff. So I'm not interested in I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little bit reclusive, but I've always been like that. I've always been an introvert who is who has I have to be an extrovert because of what I do. So if you meet me like at the convention, I'll hug you, shake your hand, talk to you and everything else. But I'm really naturally introverted. I'm naturally like to myself. I focus internally, I focus on the people around me. I'm the person that would go to a party and I'd rather have a really deep conversation that's 2 hours long with one or two people than to try to go around and talk to everybody. That's a lot of work. You ever do that? It's hard. Well, wait, so you gotta have these a bunch of stupid, shallow conversations like, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. And then as soon as the conversation gets going, it's like, oh, I gotta go network with this other person here. The rich guy just walked in the room. Gotta go talk to him. I don't do that. I just don't. I don't. That's not. No, I want to talk to you because I like you and you're interesting. I don't want to talk to you just because you're rich or famous or something. I know a lot of rich and famous people who are just terrible to talk to. I'm telling you. So anyway, with that being said, that's why I'm inviting y'all to the slumber party. Y'all can come. I ain't inviting the whole world. So anyway, I will text out the link to join. If you want to join us on Friday, some of you have already signed up. We're going to talk about stock options. It's called How to Make Money on Monday. I'm literally going to give you a stock options playbook, a couple of little plays that you can apply right away that will turn into real money. But it helps if you have a capital base. Like so, if you have a little bit to invest where you can buy some stock, I will show you exactly how to make money from that stock on Monday. And also, we're gonna have fun. We play music and stuff. I just act a fool and that. Just, but don't judge me. Don't judge me. Just pretend like I was drunk or something, right? Don't make fun of me. All right. So here is what I want to drill into. Another thought that I had economically before we start talking about the recession that's coming and getting ready for that is I thought about the black community, right? And I thought about this. How many of you, give me a yes or no in the chat. How many of you have heard repeatedly, and how many of you believe that America was built on the backs of black people? How many of you believe that black people built this country? Give me a yes in the chat if you firmly believe that America was built by us. Like we did this. This is ours. You know, even I think Trump said that too, actually, believe it or not. You built America or something, right? That's a fact, and I do agree with this fact. But I thought about this and I said, okay, so if we built America, if black people built America, then why is it so hard to believe that we can build our own community? I mean, I imagine building Black America would be easier than building America, right? So if we built America, if we built the whole damn country, why can't we build what sorry, why can't we build up our neighborhoods? Like why can't we build up our families? Why can't we build up our businesses? Why can't we build up our own economic system? Why can't we build for ourselves? Like that doesn't make any sense. That's kind of crazy to me. So either people who believe that black people built America. Either they're lying, or, which I don't think you're lying, I think you're correct, or we underestimate what we're able to do. I was thinking about this because I was talking to a guy last night who is a smart young guy, about 34 years old, and he represents a lot of athletes. He's kind of like a sports agent, and I said, these damn athletes, I love them. I don't get me wrong, I'm not making fun of them. But I said, why can't they build their own sports league? It's easy. Like, just get a board of people that know what they're doing and stop comparing yourself to white people. Stop thinking that you're going to build the NFL in 2 weeks. You're not going to build the NFL in 2 weeks. You're going to build a league that's probably going to look like what the NFL looked like in this first 10 or 15 years, but that's okay though. You're still operating at warp speed. You'd still be much further ahead of where the NFL was in 2 weeks, because you've got access to hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. You got plenty of people who are not black who pretend to be your friends. Well, this is their chance to prove it. Tell that bank that wants to sponsor you to write a check to give you the financing, get you a committee of smart people. Use you got over probably if LeBron James got together with his 20 best friends and they all agreed to back this league, you need two things. You would need two things to start this sports league. And I'm gonna get to the recession stuff in a minute, but y'all know what it is. This is conversational learning. You need two things. All you need is the ability to be rich and famous. You need wealth and you need distribution. You need to make money and you need to have visibility. Those are only two things. If you have those two things, if everybody sees you and you're making bread, then you're winning. Then the league is successful, right? Well, think about it. If if you're talking about LeBron James or some other famous athlete who gives a damn, um, why wouldn't it be the case that if he got together with his 20 best friends, his 20 most famous friends, and they all agreed, okay, with this league, we're all going to back it. That means every time there's a game, we're all going to stream the game on our social media. Well, that right there would be 300 million viewers right there. That would be distribution. That's your NBC, that's your CBS, that's your ESPN. That's all, and just that alone is worth hundreds of millions of dollars in distribution. Just that alone can build an entire economy. You could build a whole economy around that. You can get your little Stephen A. Smiths and maybe get somebody like a Jeff Lightsey Jr. to do your commentary, and right. So you can build an economy around this, right? You can sell products on that platform. You can get sponsors if that's what you want to do. Whatever, right? I think developing your own products might be the best approach. And then the second thing is, if you're looking to develop the infrastructure, just get your people to go. I would literally go up and jack up all these other folks, all these non-black people that want to be around me, and I'd say, if you're really my ally, are you my ally? Of course, I'm your ally. But our family, Abraham and I, we've always loved you, LeBron. Okay, well, if you love me, then I need you to go to Chase Bank and tell them to give us, 30 million to back what we're doing. And then I want you to go to Wells Fargo, tell them to put in their 30, 50, 100 million or whatever. And then I need you to go to the third bank, well, the next bank on the list, Bank of America, and they need to drop in 100 million, right? So then at that point you got your capital base. So you don't have an NFL level capital base. It took 100 years to build the NFL. It took 100 years to make the Chicago Bears worth $5 billion, or in the New York Giants to be worth 5 or 6 billion. It took 100 years to do that. So you're not going to have that overnight. But you can have a league in about 2 weeks that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And that league, if it's done properly and managed by smart people who aren't interested in comparing themselves to white folks, that league could be making 50 to $100 million in profit in the first year, first 5 years. Very easy to do. But you have to sort of understand where you are. Like when I started the Black Business School, I didn't say I want to build Harvard University in a month. I didn't say that. I didn't say, oh, we're going to be as big as the University of Texas. I can't. Our annual budget is probably like the amount of money the University of Texas spends in about 5 hours. I can't do that. But what I can do is I can use my PhD, and I got friends that got doctorates, and that's kind of what makes a university tick, is like having lots of smart people you can learn from. And I don't have the ability to reach millions, 100 million people, but I can reach about 5 million. Um, and so you build where you stand, you build with what you've got. And I did not spend 1 second comparing myself to somebody else. I just didn't do it, because everybody else's their blessings aren't your blessings. Their challenges are not your challenges. Their opportunities are not your opportunities. You're in a different space. I never once woke up and looked in the mirror and thought that I saw a white man. I don't look in the mirror and see a guy with blonde hair and blue eyes. I see a bald black man with glasses and a gray and goatee, and I say, let's work with what he's got instead of trying to be like Steve down the hall. And I think that's what keeps us from building. It's the fact that we're comparing ourselves to people who've been building institutions for over 100 years. You're trying to compare your little raggedy black owned business that started, in 2023 to a corporation that's been around since 1845. How the hell are you going to compete with that? If you want to make a comparison, go look at what that company looked like in 1855. Compare yourself to that. Stop comparing yourself to what other people have. I think so. So this is it. Like I just don't. It baffles me, and it doesn't baffle me completely. I mean, the NFL and stuff, they're pretty good at protecting their assets and their intellectual property. They own their Negroes, and they don't want them participating in something outside of what has been sanctioned by the league, right? And this is a dilemma they're going to have to deal with, right? So they're going to fight you. I know people. I talked to some guys who started something with the 40-yard dash where they kind of glammed it up a little bit and did a really great job. They had a really like a whole thing around it because the running the 40-yard dash. If you're an athlete, that's a big deal. So they had made it into this amazing competition, and they tried to get the NFL to partner with them. And the NFL's like, "Yeah, we'll partner with you, bud. Sure, we'll back you. We'll give you some money, bro." And then the NFL was like, kind of like quietly. They claimed anyway. They claimed that that they were going behind their back and sabotaging all of their corporate brand deals they were trying to make. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, that's a great concept you have. But in the other part of my mind, I was like, yeah, I understand why haters be hating. I understand why the NFL wouldn't be happy with what you're doing. And then the other part of my mind is like, why are we going to the same white folks to raise money? Why are we even worried about corporate sponsors and all that? Why don't we start with what we have? Like, you don't see the Black Business School out here trying to go get corporate sponsorship. I don't take money from corporations. You don't see the Black Business School going to the government trying to get government money. I never woke up thinking that I was white. And I'm not saying that only white people can do this. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I don't play the corporate game. I just don't, because that is a racist game. So I don't try to win the game of racism. I don't play the game of racism. Do you understand the difference? Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying that I like, maybe I could win the game if I tried. Maybe I could, but no, there's a difference. There's playing the game, there's winning the game, losing the game, and then there's transcending the game and just getting out of the game altogether. There's overcoming the system and fighting through the system and fighting the power, and then there's leaving the system and developing alternative systems that are going to not put you through, every ounce of an economic hell. So what is one of the keys to wealth that isn't discussed at all is Black people loving ourselves enough to understand and to commit to the possibility that we can develop alternative systems that serve us. Do you understand? Some of y'all playing a rigged game. That's why you keep losing. I don't play rigged games. I don't. If I see a game, like I got into, Damon Dash came through here, right? Damon, we used to be buddies back in the day. We don't hang out as much as we used to. But Damon's a funny guy, right? And I told you about my experience with Kanye. That kind of drove me crazy. And and Kanye had a great lyric one time where he said me and Dame get along because we're both assholes. And I said, yeah, I can confirm that. Yeah, that's a good, you're both assholes. I don't like assholes. So anyway, but with that being said though, but Dame is a nice guy though, so I'm not making fun of him. Anyway, I remember Damon came in and he was having a debate with me about something. I think he was mad about one of his baby's mamas or something crazy like that, and child support or something. And I'm just listening and we're just talking and we're on the air. And then he tries to like get me to agree with something that he said that I just didn't agree with. And he's like, "Well, what don't you think that if your child's father pays for this and pays for that, that you shouldn't ask for more money?" And da 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 da. And I was like, "I don't know. That's not my situation." And he's like, "Well, tell me. It's like seriously, like, don't you think that?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. No, I don't know. I don't have a response to that." And he kept trying to back me into this yes or no question that was gonna support his argument whether I said yes or whether I said no. And I was like, no, I'm not even gonna participate. I'm not even gonna, because I see what you're doing. You're doing kind of like the Democrat Republican thing, like when you get sort of boxed in and you really have no choice. other than to make the choice of the person who structured the whole debate in the first place, or the whole situation in the first place. So my thought was, um, I'm not even walking down that hallway with you. Right? Just like with politics, if people don't understand when they say, "Well, you're voting Democrat or Republican," I'm like, neither, because those are bad choices to begin with. That's not true choice. That's the illusion of choice. Do you understand? So what I'm saying to you, here's my point, and I'm gonna make this point, then I'm gonna get to the recession stuff, because I know that's what I talked about before. You gotta really kind of be able to process things to sort of understand what racism does. Racism does not really give black people a real choice. Racial systems, the integration that we were sucked into, we were tricked into, never gave you a real choice to have real power. They make you think you have choices. But really, at the end of the day, I think our choices are far more limited than they would be if we were able to step to the side, step away, and be in a space where we decide what choices are going to be available in the first place. Do you understand? So the power in the game is not just from the people who win the game. The power of the game is from the people who design the game. So when you go into this economic system, I encourage you, learn how to design the game. We have models in the Black Business School. We use things like the Sturdy model for children to teach them about wealth, systems, technology, entrepreneurship, relationships, and delegation for the youth. Most of this model doesn't have anything to do with like getting a good job, or going to make sure you go to college, or or managing your 401k. No, it's systems. Systems is like, if you can think, like, if you're a systematic thinker, you can scale a business. Technology, well, most of the wealthiest people in America are people that know technology, AI and all that stuff, Silicon Valley. Entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs are economic gods, because entrepreneurs have the ability to give themselves a pay raise. Entrepreneurs get to decide who gets to climb through the glass ceiling and who doesn't, because you structured the organization in your image. You get to decide what happens in that system. That's where systematic racism, or whatever you want to call it, works in your favor. Relationships means that you have that ability to connect with people that are going to help you elevate, right? Which goes down all the way down to who you choose to marry, which unfortunately a lot of people never learn that. So they marry somebody that drains all their wealth. And then also delegation, the ability to team build and then pass the ball. And then you get to be like LeBron James used to be. If you remember, I'm gonna make this last analogy. This is a compliment to LeBron. I had a good buddy that was on the faculty at Georgetown University, who's a great professor there. I think he's still there. And we used to argue we would argue for hours back 25 years ago when LeBron James first came into the league. And the argument was this. I said, there's this kid who played in a McDonald's All-Star game. I said, I think he's going to be amazing. And my friend was like, no, he's not going to be amazing. He's going to be average. The NFL's full of great players. He's going to be average. I said, no, no, no. He's different. And he's like, well, why is he so different? I said, because he's not just able to score, like a lot of great players can. This kid he controls the game. He can see everything that's happening, and he manages the game. I said, watching him play in that game, he didn't even score all the points in the McDonald's All-Star game, but I had a feeling that he could decide at any point if he wants to score or not. But what he would do is he would see other players and distribute the ball. He would say, "Okay, you haven't gotten the ball in a while. You haven't gotten the ball in a while." I said he reminded me of a father playing basketball with his 10-year-old sons, right? If he's got three sons that they're 8, 9, and 10, and he's playing basketball, the dad knows he's the dominant player, but he doesn't have to dominate to know that he's the dominant player. He gets to decide, okay, little Billy didn't get the ball this time, so I'm gonna pass it to him. Okay, Jojo, you go around this way and I'm gonna give you the ball, right? So he's controlling the game. Do you understand? LeBron transcended basketball from a psychological level, and he's still great, right? He's still hanging in there. I love him as an athlete 100%, and as a human being, right? Married to his wife, been a good citizen. I have a lot of respect for him. And the thing is, though, that the economic game is kind of similar. You have people that are in the game and trying to score points in the game. Some people are winning the game. Some people are losing the game. Some people win and then they lose, and they lose and they win. And then there's some people that just kind of have the ball like LeBron and just kind of know where everybody's positioned. They tell you they do this, and that means you're supposed to go through the pick and roll, or they do this, like the point guard. And so what I really encourage you is to really trying to get your child into spaces where they can learn how to be an economic point guard. That's my point. There are people in this economy. What you got to understand is that there's levels to all of this. There's like people on the chessboard who are just the pawns. There are some higher level players on the chessboard, and then there are people who just move the pieces around, right? And I think that that comes back to financial consciousness. That's one of the reasons why the first name that I gave this class was financial consciousness. I said you got to be able to see the game the way LeBron saw the whole court, right? And it's not about just always scoring all the points or getting all the money. It's about knowing where the money's at, knowing how to position yourself. Like sports is, basketball might be about positioning, right? It's about knowing how the players are moving. Do you understand? And these are things that get taught early. If you don't teach your children these things early, they'll never learn it. And they'll always feel like a victim because they'll feel the pressure of somebody moving them around. Like I'm gonna tell you, as much as whether you like Donald Trump or not, he's not training his kids to become anybody's pawn. He's training his children to be chess masters. To move the pieces around. Okay. Anyway, but that's what they do with the Ivy League schools. That's what they do at Harvard and Yale and Stanford. They train you to be a chess master, not to be a piece on the board. All right. So anyway, one thing I want to remind everybody about is that we're doing stock market class today. If you haven't joined our stock market investors club, feel free to go to drboystockmarket.com. You can go there, and also I sent you all that list of the companies in Europe that I'm taking a look at to invest in because I think these Trump tariffs, what they've done is they've reignited Germany. Germany now has become like this raging war machine because they don't have the security guarantees that they used to get from the United States. All these were in place since World War II, and so Germany, because of the whole thing with what happened in World War II, they've kind of backed away from this the whole military thing. Well, they've reignited. His policies have kind of reignited the beast. So Germany is literally talking about borrowing insane amounts of money to really develop their infrastructure around defense. And that's going to stimulate, if it goes through, if any of it goes through on a significant level, it should stimulate spending and infrastructure all throughout Europe and really boost their economy. It kind of made the Europeans kind of competitive. For a long time they kind of had a wimpy little economy and they weren't really reaching their potential. But there's something about what about Trump and just his, his sort of doing things the way he does things that's caused them to say, "Screw you!" Like we can fight too. So it'll be interesting to see that. So I'll put the list in the chat if you guys didn't get the list via text. If you're not on the text list, make sure you're on the text list for this class. Text the word morning to the number 87948. So text morning to the phone number 87948. And Tracy, I'm going to put this in here right here for you. So you should see this in the chat. So you can click on that link and you can get that list of stocks in Europe. These are good companies, good quality investments that and again, everything's buy and hold, right? We're not here about the fast money. I'm all about the sturdy money, right? So I'm not here about we're not here to talk about, quick get rich quick sorts of things. I will show you how to get rich slowly. It's very easy to get rich slowly, very hard to get rich quick. And if you get rich quick, then chances are the money won't last. So I put that link in there and I'll also text it out. Make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to the number 87948 on your phone and you'll get that list. Now, let me give you, before we bounce out, let me mention this coming recession. So yeah, the recession's coming. The market now again. There's no guarantees. I think that they've revised it. Let's see here. The CNBC Fed survey says that the probability of a recession rose to 36% from 23% in January. The average 2025 GDP forecast declined to 1.7% from 2.4%. And tariffs are now seen as the top threat to the U.S. economy, replacing inflation. So in the Biden administration, inflation was all the rage. Now, in the Trump administration, tariffs are all the rage. So, do I think that they're going to do something about this? Yes, I do. I do believe that the Trump administration is going to respond because now his clout is kind of being affected. His reputation is really being hit, even amongst the people that support him. I think that his political capital is starting to dwindle. So what one thing that they're probably going to try to do is create clarity around their tariff policy. That's one of the big complaints is that it's very confusing. And if you know economic models, what you'll notice is that when there's confusion and uncertainty, valuations drop. Whenever things are just confusing, uh, the willingness to invest in something drops. Like think about if you're dating somebody and the person who's clear about the fact that they like you, they answer the phone, they treat you well, they tell you that they like you, that's gonna stimulate an investment in that person. All right, you might invest more time, you might invest your body, you might invest your money in that person versus the person who isn't clear, the person who says one day that they like you, the next day they don't, next day they like you again. Sometimes they ghost you. You don't know what's going on with her ex-boyfriend, right? So that person is not going to stimulate as much investment from you because there's uncertainty. You're not sure. But people that are 100% clear, you invest in those people. When I got together with my wife, who'd been my friend for a very long time, my goal was to have complete clarity in terms of how I felt about her and what my intentions were. She knew within about 3 or 4 months what my goal was with this relationship. And my sister met my wife for the first time, and she said, Boyce isn't usually this clear about the fact that he's dating his wife. Like he's really super clear about this. And so that let her know that I was a safer investment because I wasn't going nowhere, right? So clarity is something that's lacking in the Trump policy as it pertains to tariffs. That's been a big complaint. But even with the clarity, it's still pretty much understood by most economists that tariffs are not good for overall gross domestic product. Because what they do is they also cause these trade wars. So countries stop getting along with each other. It's on like you have a relative who just if they get mad, they cuss people out and want to fight. And then some other cousins like, well, I'm gonna fight you back. And next thing you know, your one cousin done shot the other one and stuff like that. This actually really happened. Tierra Williams from the Fly Nubian Money Club. She told a story about that last week, where her family members all got together to invest together and build generational wealth. And in the building of this generational wealth, they called it a susu, but it wasn't really a susu. It was a Ponzi scheme, basically. It was one of those blessing looms, right? They call them susus, but that's not a susu. Susus are a safe investing vehicle that's been used for a very long time, mostly in the Caribbean. But again, people will hijack language to get you into their scam. So they all invested in this susu, and it was one of these things like if you put in $50 and I put in $50, then we'll all have $500, that kind of thing. So so it got so bad that one of her cousins said, "If I don't get back my $1,500, I'm coming over to the house and I'm shooting everybody." Like what this was her cousin. Her cousin literally was like, I'm coming over. I got my gun. Everybody's gonna die if I don't get my $1,500 back. And so investing in wealth is supposed to bring families together, but in this case, you almost had somebody catch a case because you had them investing in the wrong way. So no, so if you want to know that was not a susu. That was I don't maybe that I think Tierra jokingly called it a pew pew, like pew pew. I don't know, but it's it's that but it wasn't a susu, definitely. Maybe it was a death wish. So be careful about stuff like that when you start investing together. But investing together can benefit you, but you have to do it safely, especially when you're talking about your relatives' money. Now, here are a few tips that you can apply as you get ready for this coming recession. I do believe that one is going to come because recessions happen. It's just like having a bad day or a rainstorm. It's going to rain eventually. So first thing you want to do is if you don't have an emergency fund, you want to create one if you can. And they say that an emergency fund should be 3 to 6 months of living expenses. For some people, that's easier than others. I personally think also that it's okay to have a chunk of your emergency fund in the stock market and other places. I gave you all that list of safe haven companies you can invest in on the text list. If you're on the text list, and you'll get it eventually because I think I put it in there. And so having that 3 to 6 months of living expenses is critical. Or it also, I think that things like I not think I know that little things like having that second stream of income in the household is beneficial. So maybe you might not want to break up with your wife or your boyfriend, too soon, because having that extra stream of income does make a difference. A lot of people, if you go back 100 years, people had relationships and families for survival. They didn't just do it because they thought somebody was cute. Number two, you can cut a lot of unnecessary expenses, right? So maybe go through your subscriptions, things like that. Maybe cook at home a little bit more. That's a good way to save money. Diversifying your income. If you haven't started the side hustle yet, maybe this is the time to look into the side hustle, right? It doesn't cost money to just sit down with family and friends and just talk about ideas. One thing I've noticed is that sometimes we think that in order to start a business, we have to spend money. I don't spend money when I start a new business. I'd rather, instead of paying money, I'd rather just pay attention, or realize it doesn't cost me anything to have a conversation. It doesn't cost me anything to sit back, maybe talk to AI, talk to my family, and just kind of process different ideas, things like that, explore things before I get to the point where I spend money. I really want to understand and be able to visualize very clearly exactly where this money is going to go, because a lot of times people's investment ideas will suck your money dry, and then you won't have anything coming back. You'll have all your money going in one direction and not the other. So I would encourage you to look into the side hustle or invest in skills that can help you learn how to earn more money, or maybe ways to generate passive income. There are things like dividends and rental income. I've told you I make a lot of my passive income selling stock options. That's a great way to make passive income, but it's if you have a capital base. If you don't have a capital base, it's a little bit tougher. So it's almost like trying to generate income with stock options without a capital base is like trying to collect rent when you don't own any property, right? In order for you to collect rent money, you have to own property in order to have something to rent out. So this is why having the capital base is more important than even the college degree for young people. Because if you have a good enough capital base, you don't even have to go to work because your money is working for you. Like that, when they talk about your money working for you, that's what they're talking about. So there are lots of things out there. And one thing that I mentioned, if you guys want to go into business with us, with me, we actually have the Black Wealth Ambassadors program where you can buy my book. It's a best-selling book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can buy them at $15 a copy, and I'll sign it for you, which adds value to the book. And you can, as you form your investment clubs, or if you educate the kids in the neighborhood, or you educate your church, let people, offer the book where people can buy it from you and make that your business, right? And you can make most of the money. The book, if you go on the website, is $40 to buy an autographed copy of the book. I'll sell it to you for 15 if you're a Black Wealth Ambassador, and then you can resell it and make money from that. But also you can educate the community. So that's something that we have in place, and we're going to do the same thing soon with our children's workbooks. They're very, very popular. We've sold tens of thousands of these workbooks, and they cover every grade band, and they cover things like investing, stocks, and money. So we got things for first graders, fourth graders, seventh graders, etc. And so what I'll do is I'll text out another link where you can buy the workbooks cheaply, and you can resell those, make that into a business, right? Because if it's the goal anyway, the goal is for us to educate our own kids. So why don't we start doing that? Why do we have to wait for someone's permission? What are we waiting for? Who are we waiting for? Who is going to give us permission to do what every human being is supposed to do, which is to take responsibility for your children and responsibility for your community? I'm not waiting for anybody. So, long story short, I'll text you all the link. If you're interested in the Black Wealth Ambassadors program, you can pull out your phone, text the word wealth to the phone number 87948. So, if you text wealth to 87948, later on today, I'll send you a link and you can get the workbooks really cheaply. And it takes like 70% off or something. And again, if you want to make that a business, I support you completely. If you're doing content creation and you say you want to bring up the books or whatever, that's really awesome because that's our distribution system. We're not mainstream. I don't want to be mainstream. I want to be black stream. And black stream is how we can actually get the blood flow to where it needs to get to, right? So moving on. All right. So another thing you can do in order to prepare for the recession is to reduce high interest debt. If you have credit cards that are where the interest rate is very, very high, maybe refinancing that or paying some of that down, especially while the getting's good. If you're making good money, get rid of some of that high interest debt because that really does weigh you down. Also, investing wisely is really important too. One of the biggest things that you want to avoid in this economy is a lot of panic selling. We talked about that last time, so I'm not going to belabor this point. But literally, I told you all when Muhammad El Arian, who's a great economist that I respect, he's the president of Queens College. He literally said something like, he said, volatility causes you to make bad investment decisions. So what that means is that when you have a bad day with stocks, like I think today is kind of a rough day, a lot of people get scared and they sell, and then next thing you know, you end up missing out on the bulk of the money. You didn't stick around until the party got good. You left when the party got a little bit slow. And I just want to tell you, just reiterate that the stock market has been the number one investing tool in America for about 150 years. So sticking around, great term, Charlene, sticking around is how you make the money long term, right? Just like New Edition used to say, "Tell me, baby, can you stand the rain? If you can stand the rain, then you'll be good." But everybody likes the sunny days, but you can't run away just because it's a little bit cloudy. So I think leaving your investments there and really think of investing as a long term process, at least 3 to 5 years, really more like 5 to 10, then you're typically going to be fine. There's very few investments you could have made, say, in 2016 that would not have paid off right now in terms of S&P 500 companies. If you look at, say, the top 100 companies in the S&P 500, if you dollar cost averaged, meaning to just invested a little bit in any of those companies since, say, 2016, chances are you would have a ridiculous amount of money right now. Even Apple, I mean, Apple, everybody knew about Apple. 25 years ago, everybody knew about Apple. So it's crazy to me to even think that a poor person who consistently bought Apple stock, like, or maybe they just said, okay, every time I buy an iPhone, I'm gonna buy the same amount of Apple stock. I'm gonna take the same money I spent on the iPhone, and I'm gonna also buy some stock to go with it, so that I can't just, so I'm not just giving them money, I'm also making money when other people give them money. A person who simply applied a simple program like that to their own lives would have just insane amounts of wealth. Like, I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in their bank account. So if you want to know where the money's at, it's in investing. We've talked about this. Okay. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up for today. And by the way, we, as you guys know, the stock options program, Coin, just started, Certified Options Investing Network, and we're doing 12 straight weeks where we're covering options from A to Z. We already did the first week. We meet every Thursday night, and if you want to talk to someone about joining the Coin program, you can go to drboycecoin.com. You have to apply. It's more exclusive. It's a smaller group, and so, but if you want to talk to someone, just feel free to go to drboycecoin.com, drboycecoin.com. And later on today, we're going to be talking about stocks, and I'll send you guys links on stuff. So make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to the number 87948. And we do this every morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And God bless you.